Hey everyone, welcome to another daily cinephile vlog. So I'm going to talk about the newest animated release from the past weekend. It's Inside Out 2. So it's a sequel to Inside Out, which I did rewatch in order to prep for the newest movie. Inside Out is still great. I honestly give it a 5 out of 5 stars. Like, I really do enjoy that movie a lot. I think it's one of Pixar's best, they have many best movies, to be honest. It's a great studio overall. It's one of my favorite animations. It is my favorite animation studio, like overall. But one of my favorite studios in general, just my favorite creators that are out there. Even if they've had some issues in recent years, I suppose. I mean, I've still been liking their movies. I think it's been just more an issue with how some of them have been released and the fact that some of them haven't been able to make money, and then Lightyear came out and no one saw it. So, I mean, throughout it all, I've still been enjoying their work. And I didn't have, like, a lot of excitement for Inside Out 2. Like, I just didn't... The trailers didn't really grab me much, but I thought the new characters and the designs were interesting. I thought the idea of giving the new emotion, anxiety, putting them into the movie, I thought that was going to be a great idea. I thought it could lead to a lot of humor. While watching the movie, I have to say, I really do like it a lot. It reminds me of Monsters University in a way. I didn't think Monsters University was necessary. Like, if they were going to do anything to Monsters Inc., I wish they would have done a continuation, a sequel rather than a prequel. But overall, I just didn't really think you needed to go anywhere else with that world anyway. But they did Monsters University, and I always thought maybe the reason they made that movie was because the ending of the movie was so well thought out, such a good idea that it was hard to ignore. And that's how I feel with Inside Out 2. It's just the ending of it. It's too good of an idea. And it's an ending that I think could only really be done in the Inside Out universe, that it almost seems like they wrote the entire movie around getting this scene together at the end of the film. Anxiety was presented in the trailers as like a more humorous character, but as the movie goes along, you start to see the character take a more villainous turn in a way. It's kind of the antagonist of the movie. But even that, there's a bit of a twist on that. And it's something that I think a lot of people would relate to. Everyone's grown up. We all have dealt with these types of emotions. We can all recognize these situations. And, in a way, like, some of what Riley goes through in this movie it's almost like tough to watch. It's almost tough to watch her enact all these scenes. But it's in a good way. It's got that cringe factor that, you relate to it. You relate to being in that place at that age and just being like, it's tough to watch, but it's really well done. The animation is still wonderful to look at, and there's some other animated techniques that they throw into this movie. Like, I really liked with the first movie how when they're changing into like different shapes and like going from like 3D animation to 2D animation, all these different funny things going on. And this one, they do some more with the animation. There's like a character in the movie that is from an older video game. And, they have all the jitters and strange ways of walking and the way that they transition into their fighting styles. There's not like smooth animation with it. It's all just like very jumpy. And when it cuts from one position to another, it's just like an instant cut. There's also another character that's very similar to Dora the Explorer. And they do a little fun twist on that with, the backpack character. Instead of a backpack, it's going to be this fanny pack. And there's a very funny moment with that character. And I think every time that character was on screen, I was laughing. So overall, like, it's a very well animated movie. A lot of fun techniques thrown in there. And also the fact that it is funny. Like, I was laughing quite a bit throughout this movie. There's still plenty of puns in there. There's the brainstorm scene. A lot of little moments like that filling up the movie that really make this world a little bit larger. They expand on a lot of the ideas that were presented in the first movie. Like, this time, it's not just emotions. Now there's also core beliefs that becomes part of Riley's character and personality. The person who voices Anxiety, Maya Hawke, is great in the movie. I don't know if she's really done voice roles before, but that was, to me, like the standout performance here. And this time with Fear and Disgust, it's not the same voice actors from the first movie. We don't have Bill Hader or Mindy Kaling this time. They were both replaced. I know Fear was at least replaced by Tony Hale, and almost right away you can tell that it's a different voice actor. And they still made the choice to have them be in the majority of the runtime. It's not like in the first movie they were left at headquarters, so most of the movie was sadness and joy. But this time, all five of those emotions come together and have to journey through the mind. So there's actually probably more of those characters. Disgust, fear, and of also anger, which Lewis Black is back as anger this time around. But those characters, those three, are probably in this movie more than they were in the first movie. And I just thought that was interesting because you couldn't get the original voice actors back, but I was glad that they still had plenty of material for the new actors, and, it doesn't distract you too much. At first, you're going to really notice that Bill Hader's gone, but after a few minutes, you totally forget. I will say, if there's anything, I thought like the beginning of the movie, there was like a lot of stuff being introduced. Like suddenly Riley has these new friends and she's going to this completely different location where she's going to meet even more new people. And then like inside the mind, we have to meet 4 new emotions. And then we have to learn that there's a whole new like system going on this time around. It's not just emotions controlling everything, but now there's like core beliefs, and that whole idea needs to be introduced. So there's a lot kind of being thrown at you in the first few minutes, and it did start to worry me a bit. But after that, the movie slows things down. Overall, it doesn't have as good of a pace as the first movie, but it slows things down enough after the first act that I started really getting into the story, the journey that these emotions are taking. I do wish that the movie maybe would have taken place over a longer period of time. I don't know exactly how that would have worked with the mechanics of the emotions within the mind, because this journey that they're taking throughout the mind, the mind is very large to them, but I suppose if they're doing like this, what in this movie is supposed to be a weekend long journey, we can't, I guess, stretch that on for like a longer period of time, because then it's like, how does she go without these emotions for this long? I don't know. I don't know exactly how you would have done that, but to me, like, I didn't really get on board with the idea that all of this stuff that happens with Riley, like, happens within a weekend. I do wish that it would have been stretched, like, amongst, like, a school year, rather than just a weekend session at some hockey camp. I guess for what the story is trying to do, it works, but I think some of those really emotional moments towards the end would have been all that much stronger. I mean, it works. When I was giving me flashbacks to seeing Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, how that another animated movie, kind of aimed towards kids, pulls off the idea of a panic attack in animation in a very thought-provoking, emotional way. This movie does that too. But I still think it would have been even stronger had, this journey with Riley been a bit longer than just a weekend, because in a way it just automatically feels a little bit more rushed. There's also some moments in there that I don't think were nearly as strong as what they were able to do in Inside Out. This movie, it's more the idea of like, what if like these different emotions get introduced to you once you enter puberty? Like, what if you start dealing with anxiety? There's a line in this movie that Joy straight up says, like, maybe as you get older, you just have less joy. And, that's like kind of a sad scene. It's one of those moments where it's like, man, that's going to be one of those things that they like screen grab, post on Facebook, and people are going to share it and be like, oh, it's so sad. And, it's sad in the movie, but like during that moment, it was to me kind of trying to replicate the moment that happened to Joy when she was stuck in that like cavern with Bing Bong. I thought it was trying to replicate that scene, but it wasn't doing it as well because, the situation to me just wasn't as strong. And the fact that she kind of told the audience what to think, the fact that she was like, maybe as you get older, you start to lose joy. I'm like, that's meaningful. And, there's something to be said there, but I wish you wouldn't have like told the audience in that way. It just felt very forceful. As much as I didn't really want an Inside Out 2, I wasn't really needing it, asking for it. I like this one enough. I mean, like, I give it 4 out of 5 stars, but I like it enough where I kind of want to see them do more of these now. I would like to see them, go a few years in the future with Riley and, like, do more with other emotions. And I realize that there is just so much more that you can do within the mind. And introducing more emotions and more ideas. So I really like the movie. I really like the new characters that they introduce. I mean, it's not just anxiety. There's also the other characters like embarrassment, envy, boredom. I liked all those characters. Great designs. They all fit in well with the other previous characters from the first movie. And I hope to see more from this universe.